Hey guys, just before the video starts real quick, I want to take a look at some TCG news. We got the announcement for rotation for this year, as well as some surprising news. So it looks like our next format will be Ultra Prism through Unified Minds, at least that'll be our Worlds format. It'll include these 9 sets: Ultra Prism, Forbidden Light, Celestial Storm, Lost Thunder Team Up, Detective Pikachu, and Dragon Majesty mini sets, as well as the as of yet unreleased Unbroken Bonds and Unified Minds sets. And you'll notice nothing before Ultra Prism, and that's because rotation is occurring before Worlds this year. So we will be losing everything up to Ultra Prism. So Sun and Moon, Guardians Rising, Burning Shadows, Crimson Invasion, and Shining Legends, everyone's favorite set. We're losing Zorak, that's right. They're taking Zorak's chance to get his second Worlds trophy away from him. Very cruel if you ask me. But yeah, this is obviously some divisive news. I like the Worlds format where it's every set that's been legal for the whole season, and it doesn't really make sense to me to end the season before the season ends, but that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Leave a comment with what you think about the new rotation and the fact that it's happening before Worlds. Obviously, we're losing a lot of staples, a lot of important cards that we've relied on for a good long while, so it'll be a big shake-up to the format. Hello guys, welcome back to Wimple Squirrel's YouTube channel. Today I've got another video for you, and it's on Sableye Garbodor. You know him, you hate him. It's that deck with Garb Toxin blocking your abilities, and Sableye getting back any 2 item cards you want. So we're gonna spam resources and run our opponents out of deck. Also, we're gonna use a combination of Hiker and Trick Shovel to make sure they don't ever get good cards. So let's take a look at that list. Alright, here it is. We've got 4 Sableye with that junk hunt attack. Put 2 item cards from your discard pile into your hand. One of the most busted attacks in the game. Just recovering those resources like that is amazing, as well as Garb Toxin. If this Pokemon has a tool card attached to it, it shuts off all abilities in play. And we don't play any abilities besides Garb Toxin, so this is just hurting our opponents. And then we play an assortment of item and supporter cards to reuse and just mess with our opponents. So I'll just start off with the A spec of the deck, Life Dew, which reduces prize cards taken by knockout by 1. We also have Black Market Prism, which is the same effect, but reduces prize cards taken by 1 if it's a dark Pokemon with a dark energy attached. So a little more specific requirements. We can't protect our Garbs like that. This is obviously a Prism Stadium, so it's immune to item and supporter cards. Can only be bumped by another stadium. 3 Battle Compressor is the engine of this deck. It's gonna discard our cards and make it easier to find them off of junk hunts. So we can discard the items and supporters we want to recur, and then we'll have access to them. 1 Counter Catcher. Switch one of your opponent's Pokemon with one of their bench guys if you're behind. 1 Enhanced Hammer. Discard a special energy. 2 Level Balls can search out our Trubbish and our Sableyes since they have less than 90 HP. 2 Peaking Red cards. So the idea of this deck is to get your opponent stuck with 1 dead hand, and then keep them stuck with a dead hand for the rest of the game. So we're going to use Red card, Peaking Red card, Mars, which discards a random card from your opponent's hand. We're going to spam these supporters to try and get our opponent into a dead hand, and then we will use the combination of Hiker to look at the top 5 and then put whatever card we want on top of their deck, and Trick Shovel to discard the top cards of their deck. Obviously we can infinitely recur any supporter with VS Seeker since it's an item card. We also have 4 Turner's Mail. A little consistency helps you dig out these pieces out of the deck. 2 Super Rod. This is your anti-deck out measure. So a lot of times in this deck you're going to go really low on cards because basically you want to play out of the discard pile. You want to have everything in your discard pile so you have access to everything in your deck. So Super Rod is going to just throw some cards back in your deck, and that's going to help you stop decking out. As far as just regular draw supporters, I have 2 Sycamore, 2 Cynthia, 2 N. Obviously N in Garb Toxin is a disgusting combo, so a lot of times how we're going to get our opponent to have that initial dead hand is just let them knock out Sableyes over and over while we're discarding their energies, and then we're just going to lock it up with Garbotox and end him to like 3 or so, and then hopefully that's dead. As far as disruption supporters, we have the Mars previously mentioned, discard a card from their hand. Team Skullgrunt, discard up to 2 energy from their hand. Team Flaregrunt, discard an energy from their active Pokemon. Plumeria, discard 2 cards from your hand and then discard an energy from any of their Pokemon to their bench Pokemon as well. 1 Guzma, switch one of their guys. 1 Gladion, look at your face down prize cards and pick something. So we're not taking prizes, so we're going to need Gladion to access any cards that are stuck there. 1 Faba, this can be a win condition against just DCE based decks, since you can put a special energy into the loss zone. So if they only play 4 and you're only giving up single prizes, you can outrace them a lot of times and just eliminate them out of the game. So that's the deck. Let's take a look at some games. Alright, here we go with some PTCGO games. A little bit of change of venue since my neighbors decided they wanted to play some background music for me, which was pretty courteous, but I don't really care for their taste. So I'm just gonna move to a different room so I can't hear them. Here we're starting a game. It looks like my opponent's gonna decide who goes first, and he decides to go first, unsurprisingly. We lead off with the Sableye, which is generally better than leading off with a Trubbish, so I'm okay with it. My opponent gets a mulligan, and I see a Lurantis, so I'm thinking it's a Venusaur deck with Lurantis, as well as the Shamans, and that looks like that's confirmed by the Shaman that my opponent has led in his active position. He nest balls, and yep, Celebi Venusaur, the big boy, is here. He also gets a grass energy attached to him. And it's back over to my turn. I top deck a darkness energy, very nice, and I get a life dew off of a transmail straight away. So I like to see that. Attach the darkness energy and the life dew, and then I'm going to hit the battle compressor. And what you want to do with these battle compressors is really throw away items that you're going to want to recover, as well as your supporters. So you're going to want to build up like a library of supporters you can utilize with Versus Seeker. And my opponent has a pretty good hand. He chose not to use that Sycamore, I assume because he sees the Sableye and understands this is a control deck, so he doesn't want to discard the energies that he was holding on to. Speaking of discarding, I discard a Field Blower off my opponent's top deck with a Trick Shovel, and I get 2 Trubbishes to put down. That sounds very good to me. I'm going to bench both of those, hit this Trainer's Mail, see what else I can get. I grab another Battle Compressor, so I can thin my deck out more, as well as giving myself access to more things for this next turn. I think I'm going to go for a VS Seeker and discard some more supporters as well. Not sure what my final choices are. It looks like right now I'm thinking about Mars, Team Skullgrunt, and a VS Seeker. So I can discard that VS Seeker and then grab it back with Junk Hunt. And I'm also going to go for a Peking Red card. Since my opponent, last we saw, had a live hand, of course we made him shuffle it back in, but who knows what he's sitting on now. He gets another Field Blower and decides to spend it for Garbotoxin comes into effect. Now, of course I'm playing a stall deck, so I'm not going to be damaging him. He's not really going to get too much use out of his abilities this game, but so I suppose Field Blowing off the life too is a pretty okay play there then. He gets a DCE red card and knocks out my Sableye with Pollen Hazard. So I'm going to have to push up one of my Trubbishes here. I do have Garbotoxin lock in hand. So worst case scenario here, I just lock up abilities and retreat into the other Trubbish. However, I do top deck a Sableye. So I'm going to check if I get a darkness off of this Gladion. There's no dark energy in my prizes. I must have forgot about that. So I'm just going to grab a VS Seeker. I wasn't really doing anything else with this turn anyways, but I'm going to give up this Trubbish here, bench the Sableye, and pass it over to my opponent's turn. Just taking another look at what's in my discard pile there, the sort of library of resources that I have access to. My opponent computer searches, discarding Grass Energy, which seems a little counterintuitive, considering he didn't go for that Sycamore turn 1, discarding a Grass Energy, but he decides to Guzma up my Garb, and I assumed I would see another Grass Energy here, but I don't, which is pretty interesting because he could have gotten the knockout if he had discarded one of the other 2 cards in his hand and left himself with a Grass Energy. So in discarding that grass energy, he made sure that he wouldn't get the knockout here, which is definitely too bad for my opponent. Meanwhile, I'm going to hit this Mars, seeing that he only has 2 cards in hand. So I feel like if I can hit one of those important cards he's been sitting on while under guard block, so he can't draw with a Rangaroo, we can get some good value out of that. No, I did hit that DCE out of my opponent's hand, and I grab back Life Dew and VS Seeker off of the junk hunt. My opponent can knock me out here, but this is taking him down in prizes, which means he's going to be vulnerable to an N later. N Garbotoxin, obviously the strongest combo in a while. We top deck a red card, or peeking red card. My opponent did get a prize card here, so we don't know what that card is. But we know he attached DCE from hand to his Oranguru. So I'm willing to risk that it is a bad card, but if I get another peeking red card this turn, I'd really love to use that. That's why I don't discard it off of this battle compressor here. Instead, I'm going to put down a red card and build up my library of supporters. I'm going to attach a Life Dew and then Sycamore. I need to really burn through my deck a little more, see some more cards before I can get the lockdown on my opponent. I did grab another peeking red card, and I'm just going to drag up his Shaman, since that's the only thing that doesn't have energy on it. Yeah. My opponent is going to top deck a DCE, so I discard it. And then I consider going for the junk hunt once again, but I do peeking red card, and he did get a Sycamore, so I'm glad I did that. And then I get to junk hunt for 2 new cards. I'm going to go for a counter catcher and VS Seeker, since I think it's pretty highly likely that he... I don't think it's unreasonable for him to retreat and get an attack off here. He has another red card. I believe he plays 4 in this deck, which is pretty crazy. But that's how it goes. I get the Black Market Prism Stadium, which is pretty nice, but I think I'm okay for now. He's probably got plenty of stadiums, so I don't want to really play that while there's still a distinct possibility that he just bumps it immediately and I don't get any value. I'm going to Plumeria his energy off, and then junk hunt, grabbing me a shovel and a VS Seeker. And my opponent has a dead hand. The lock is complete-ish. Well, let's just make sure we get all this energy off this Venusaur first. And then Trick Shovel. My opponent is going to top deck a dead card, that Stadium. So, we're good to go. I play a second VS Seeker this turn, not sure why. Yeah, that's just a misplay, I think. It gives me the option to go double VS Seeker on the junk hunt, but I think from now on I'm just going to be going Trick Shovel, VS Seeker to initiate that Hiker loop. My opponent top decks that Aether Paradise Conservation Area and gets to do nothing with it. We see his top deck's a dead card again, so I can hit him with that Mars, just decreasing his hand size further while giving me access to some new cards. I'm going to go for the Trick Shovel VS Seeker combo again. My opponent top decks Choice Band dead card. That's just how it's going to go from here on out. I discard an N, and then Hiker. Looking at his top 5, Rescue Stretcher is a dead card. And then I'm going to junk hunt, grab back those 2 once more. Sableye in 2019, still milling with Trick Shovel. My opponent Rescue Stretcher's back in those 2 Pokemon, which is actually a bad thing for him. It's a little counterintuitive, since you'd think that adding to your deck is good, but against a mill deck is good, but he's actually adding 2 dead cards. So you can see that the Rentis is an easy pick for me. I want him to draw into that, since Pokemon aren't really going to do him any good here. I have a spare turn, so I'm just going to grab 2 Trick Shovels, since I already have 2 VS Seekers in hand. And this will maybe allow me to use my supporter for something besides Hiker. Trick Shovel hits a Life Forest, and then a Grass Energy, so I'm still going to have to use the Hiker. to make sure my opponent doesn't get any good cards. And he has a Shaman as well as a couple other dead cards in there, so I'm not too worried about him getting out of this lock anytime soon. Almost grab an Ultra Ball there, but yep. Trick Shovel and VS Seeker for the rest of this game, please. My opponent obviously has nothing. We've seen all the cards in his hand. We know what's up. He's about to get a red card, but I block that. Hiker again. And I almost give him the Ultra Ball, but I end up giving him the Acerola, since he can actually play the Ultra Ball. And I think there's one unknown card in his hand, and if it's a Field Blower, he could theoretically like thin his hand down and get some Oranguru draws, which I do not want. But giving him that Acerola is a completely dead card. He has a Sycamore sitting on top this time, so I'm going to discard that, and then Hiker again. And you can see just cards like this were not designed to be used over and over and over. I give him a Switch this time, which is not a completely dead card. It's at least something he can utilize, so I have to keep track of that for the future. My opponent does have a Switch card in hand. Check his top deck off of this Shovel. Looks like he was going to get a Cynthia, but we blocked that, of course. Can't have him shuffling in and drawing new cards. I'm going to give him this Fomantis. And you can see these Pokemon are just dead weight to my opponent at this point. He does bench the Fomantis, which I think is a bad play. Now, this could come back to bite me later, but my opponent doesn't see the line here, where he could go attach a Grass Energy if I'm ever forced to give him a Grass Energy, and attach a Grass Energy to, like, see this turn right here. So I'm forced to give him a Grass Energy. We know he has Switch in hand, so he could go Synthesis with switch into Fomantis and Synthesis to attach a Grass Energy to his Celebi Venusaur. So getting two energies in play, shuffling his deck, all that. But instead he attaches it to the Celebi Venusaur and evolves into a Lurantis, which just seems suboptimal to me since he's not getting any value out of that. I grab two Trick Shovels so that I can use my supporter on a Flare Grunt if necessary. And I'm looking for a dead card, find it in that Fomantis, so I get the freedom to use a Flare Grunt this turn and discard that energy that I was forced to give my opponent last turn since we didn't find any dead cards off the Hiker. Thankfully his deck does require 2 energy to attack, so giving him a single energy is usually not that bad if we can find a dead card off of a Trick Shovel. He benches the other Fomantis again. He's just benching things for no reason really. Holding on to these cards is better since it gives him more stuff if he ever finds just more cards in deck if he ever finds a way to shuffle stuff back in. I mean, it's not going to happen, but you know, there's no reason to not play to the out. You know, the out of like him having Sycamore, and then 3 Cynthias on the top of his deck. It could happen, and you should always play to that. Now my opponent evolves the other Lurantis. Again, no reason to do this. Meanwhile, I hit a Cynthia off of a Trick Shovel, and then I'm just going to go Hiker again. Looking at his cards, I'm going to have to give him a Grass Energy again. But, oh yeah, sorry, actually, here I give him the Field Blower, now that I think about it. Garblock isn't that important this turn, so I'm okay sacrificing that. I have a Floatstone in hand, 2 actually, so I'm okay with my opponent getting rid of Garblock and the Life Dew, since we know he won't be able to do anything anyways. Of course, this is setting him up for a combo turn, or it would be if he saved any of these cards. There's no reason to play this here since he can't get any value out of his abilities this turn. So, like, he's built up Switch, Field Blower. He had Guzma in hand. That was the unknown card. He held on to that for a while, but he's trying to lock my Garb active. Since I don't have a Floatstone, I mean, it's a pretty good out, I guess, to play too. that I wouldn't have another Floatstone in hand, but I do. And I'm going to give my opponent this Ultra Ball here to just, I guess, tempt him into discarding stuff. At this point, we're just trying to burn through his deck. He's only got 7 cards left. I know I only have 2 cards left, but I also have double Super Rod in hand. So I'll just add those cards, add some Sableyes and Dark Synergies back into my deck to refill it. And my opponent doesn't really have those same options. He doesn't have the infinite loop of Junk Hunt. So I'm just going to shuffle some back in, so I don't have to worry about that. Discard Grass Energy off the top of his deck. And at this point he has 5 cards left. So I can just go Hiker here, give him the Lily, and then, or give him the Lele, sorry. And then Junk Hunt for double Trick Shovel. And then double Trick Shovel, just discard whatever off of his deck this turn. And he won't be able to take enough prizes to win or really do anything. He's thinking about it. Really weighing out all his options. Don't know what they are. Well, actually we do know what they are since we've seen all of his cards. And he put the Lele down. It's not a very good attacker, and or with no energy acceleration, it's not a very good attacker. I consider hitting him with a well played, but I decide better of it. Yeah, you can see so many energies in my opponent's discard. He'd love to use that Evergreen GX tag, but there's just no way I'm going to let him build up that kind of energy in play. And at this point, he is just stalling for time. He is waiting for his little timer to pop up and just playing a card every 60 seconds. But if he thinks he's going to have more patience than a stall player, he's pretty crazy. The whole point of my deck is just to sit here and do the same thing over and over. And if he thinks he's going to do that better than me, I don't know if I can support that play. He spends another card, switch into the Lurantis, Ultra Ball, discard some cards from his hand. And I believe that actually lets me deck him out this turn, just by going Trick Shovel. I only need to play one, sorry. Yep, just Trick Shovel, and then via Seeker for N. Knocks him out of the game. On to the next battle. This one I found versus a Night March deck, which I would say is probably a pretty good matchup. There are definitely some bad matchups for this deck. You don't want to see Blastoise. Generally they'll go a little too quick for you, and they just kind of burn through so much of their deck. It's hard to stick them with a dead hand. It's of course possible. If you ability lock, they can't do the Deluge thing, and they can't do Shaman, but they play Field Blower or Faba, so they have outs to ability lock as well. And yep, it's a Night March deck. He starts off with Pumpkaboo, has a Joltik on the bench, attaches Choice Band and Floatstone to those Young Boys and Sycamores away. His other 4 cards, I'll take a look at what those are. Yep, nothing great. Teammates, he does lose a VS Seeker off that, but kind of had to do it. Ultra Ball discards a Rescue Stretcher and a Pumpkaboo. My opponent's got to play his resources carefully here, since he does have only those 4 DCE, as well as probably a couple special charge. He Ultra Balls, snagging a Marshadow GX, and he lays that onto the bench, puts down the Dimension Valley and Shamans for 4 new cards. You can see he's digging deeper in his deck. He's now at 33 cards. So against Night March we have several win cons. We can either Faba them out of the game, just use Enhance Hammer spam. They usually don't play that many Dimension Valleys, so you can kind of run them out of those, and then lock in the Black Market Prism Star, which is also an option. My opponent's looking through his deck, deciding what 3 cards he wants to discard off this Battle Compressor. I imagine we can see some more Night Marchers hit the discard. Yep, 2 Night Marchers and a Silent Lab. Silent Lab not really affecting me here. The only ability I have again is Garbotoxin. But my hand is looking pretty strong for whenever I get to play my turn. My opponent's been playing for a minute here, but that's okay. It's just Night March doing Night March things. But I've got the Enhanced Hammer and a Battle Compressor, so if I have an okay top deck, or if I can find something good off the Gladion, like another basic Pokemon, I think I'm in a very good spot. I'd also like a Darkness Energy, so a VS Seeker, that way I could use a Sycamore, would be pretty good. But my opponent's still playing out his turn. You can see how many cards he's gone through. He's down to 23 now, and he's still using a Battle Compressor. He discards Enhanced Hammer, Trainer's Mail, and I think another Battle Compressor, and then retreats into Marshadow. I've got the Enhanced Hammer spawns. I get just top deck the Sycamore, very nice. So I'm going to use this Battle Compressor to thin out my deck, as well as putting the things that I need for this game in the discard, that VS Seeker, that Faba, and a Trick Shovel. So my opponent's very low, so the low on cards, so the Trick Shovel win con is there, but Faba is also very powerful. I'm going to Ultra Ball, grabbing me another Sableye here for when this one gets knocked out, and then I can just Junk Hunt for a Versus Seeker and a Enhanced Hammer, I think. Slow my opponent down. I'd love to play Faba, but I don't think I have the room here on this next turn, so looks like it's going to be just Enhanced Hammer, attach Darkness to my Sableye, and then Sycamore, which again is fine. I'm okay going down a couple prizes. My opponent's deck relies on only 4 energy cards, so it should be pretty easy to run him out. Right, so he gets a prize. I'm going to hit him with a red card. He didn't play any cards out of his hand besides that DCE, so I'm obviously playing a style deck, or a control deck, so there's no telling whether he just didn't play any cards or his hand was actually dead. But I'm just going to hit him with a red card to reduce his hand size anyways, and then Sycamore. I get the life too, which should slow my opponent down a little bit. Off of this Trainer's Mail, I pick Super Rod, since I did have to discard my Garb early in this game, and it's actually the only one I have. So I shuffle back that Garbodor as well as a Darkness Energy and a Sableye, and then Junk Hunt, grabbing Ultra Ball Floatstone, since I already have VS Seeker in hand. For next turn, this is going to allow me to establish the Garb block. Assuming my opponent doesn't get a Guzma here, but the Ultra Ball does still shore up my Trubbish for next turn. So I can just grab that and attach the Floatstone, then VS Seeker for something if he knocks me out. He misses an Order Pad. I'm just admiring the art on Order Pad there. I really like it with all the little items on the screen. I think it looks really cool. Yep. I just imagine pulling Order Pad for a crushing hammer. Who would ever do that? My opponent Juniper's discarding a lot of cards. He Order Pads, gets ahead this time. Looks like he's gonna grab any item card he wants from his deck, and he's only got 13 cards left. He grabs a Hypnotoxic Laser, which is a pretty interesting inclusion in Night March. It helps you deal with those Focus Sash fighting decks, so can't hate it. Also, sometimes puts your opponent's Sableye to sleep, so you can't be mad at that either. And let's see if I stay asleep. Yes, I do. That's fine. I'm going to get that Garb block up this turn. My opponent didn't get an attack off, so I'm perfectly fine just Garbotoxing him. And then I'm going to go for the Faba, which is a bit of a risky play, but I do think that he would have gotten the Floatstone over the Hypnotoxic Laser if he had that. So this next turn he's going to have to Guzma to get a knockout. So, assuming he doesn't play switch cards, obviously. But again, he would have grabbed that off of the Order Pad. So this turn I'm assuming he will need a Guzma to get a knockout. And if he does that, then I can just Sableye Junk Hunt, and I'm back in the game. My opponent's Sycamores with only 11 cards left, leaving him with 4 cards. He's really just burning through his deck at a rate that I think is pretty unnecessary. He doesn't wait to get the full value out of this special charge here, but I don't think he ever is going to. Realistically, I'm going to follow a lot of his DCEs from here on out. If I even get the time, since he is at only 7 cards left in deck and hand, and then 5 prizes left. Passes back over to my turn, and my Sableye wakes up. I get a Guzma off of the top deck, but I don't think I'm really looking for that, so I'm just going to Junk Hunt straight away and grab back via Seeker, and trying to decide what the other card is. I want to slow my opponent down, but they're also very low on cards. Counter Catcher seems good since he's very likely going to burn another DCE to retreat, or DCE or Guzma. But I end up going for the Trick Shovel here, since I think at this point my opponent's so low on cards that I should just be able to Trick Shovel a couple times and knock him out of the game. He attaches to the Joltik, which lets me know he has a Guzma in hand, and he gets out my Garb, and then he's going to Night March the Garb away. I'm just going to look in his discard pile real quick. He's down several VS Seekers. Alright, so Trick Shovel discards another VS Seeker from my opponent. And I'm just now realizing I made a little bit of a misplay. I should have promoted the Trubbish so I wouldn't have to spend the energy to retreat, but I think it's okay at this point. Trick Shovel and VS Seeker coming back into my hand. I'd love to see double Trick Shovel there instead, but I didn't have access to that yet. My opponent instructs for 1 card, which, unless he shuffles back in, allows me to just Trick Shovel for game. And yep, my Sableye wakes up, but I can just Trick Shovel, discarding his last card, which is a DCE, and then pass it over to him. He hits me with the Well Blade. I try to hit him with the Well Blade as well, but it's too late. And that just kind of goes to show that decks like Night March or Zoroark, where they just play the 4 energy, you have a lot of win cons against them. Even if they're knocking out your Sableyes over and over, eventually, if they dig too deep in their deck, like Night March often does, you can just eliminate them with Trick Shovels, or with Zoroark, you can generally just follow them out of the game. Alright, those are some pretty great games. I think they really show off the deck. But we gotta open some Triumphant Packs to end the video. I just want to thank you for sticking around. I think this deck is maybe not the most fun to play, or play against, or maybe to watch. I don't know. I think it is, but you can't deny there's definitely a strength to it. The amount of control it gives you over your opponent is amazing. Got another Junk Arm as well. And I'll crack another one, why not? And yeah, I just sort of love these control archetypes, so this is very nice for me. Porygon 2 has got a mapping ability, which allows you to search your deck for a stadium card. That's interesting. I can't really think of any other stadium search besides like Skyla, so that's pretty cool. I really love this Rapidash art, that's very nice. He can't be confused. Look at that, it looks so clean. That's very nice. Alright, well I think that's it for me. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.